Good evening, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to hop on and do a quick video because I was thinking about something earlier. And while thinking about it, I thought, well, this might be a simple way to explain something to you people. Help you comprehend what's going on in life and how we can recuperate it. And in regards to the way technology has moved along these days, and we're using all these different devices, I've expressed many times that the public education system is part of the problem in the reality of how today works. And what I mean by that is they're teaching our children certain things but not other things. And I spoke in a video about doing the homeschooling thing in regards to keeping them in the public education system while homeschooling them at home as well. Until we can progress to a future time where we can actually start embedding that homeschooling without the public education from their very early ages by correcting our statuses so we can quit paying for our father's sins. And so when we think about the technology and how it moves us in our education, back in my day, we talk about the education advancing and not it no longer includes the civil courses, and the governmental courses are restricted to very minor education. Your English skills are limited to very minor education. Your mathematical skills are limited to a very minor education. And this is all on that same principle I spoke of many times, is leave no child behind. Now, if we're going to leave no child behind, that means anybody that progresses above that doesn't get the individual help and guidance it needs and needs to go forth on its own. And they do. They in fact do. But at the same time, they're not acquiring that little bit of extra assistance that we could get like in homeschooling environments where the parent could spend specific time with them. So they could advance as much as they need to. We're instead holding them back in this public education system in line with the others where no child be left behind. And that's the wrong way to educate our children. And when we think about, again, back to this technology thing, so when we think about the civil courses and the advancement of the actual education itself in these different programs, it alters over time. While at the same time, it has its effects on us here individually in our own private environments. And I mentioned specifically back when I went to school, we had a typing course. Now, I don't know what the private side of the education in the public education system itself, wherein we deal with mechanics and electronics and sewing and home ec and typing and physical education, which physical education is actually on the military side. We'll talk about that some other time. But, when it comes to those aspects, they do try to teach some of it at some points in time. But again, back to the typing. I don't know if they're teaching typing in school anymore, because I think most people that are involved in this public education system on a learning scale, our younger generations, have these devices at home and they already know how to type. We have kids sitting there on phones at 4 and 5 years old going to kindergarten, knowing how to run these things better than I do. And so we see education happening naturally in its own course according to what becomes convenient or useful or used in our own environments on the private side anyway. It's like the electric. It's all a matter of convenience is what it is. And so when we get back, again, like I was speaking about the private side of education, where we learn how to do things our own self, the cooking, the sewing, the finances, the law, the gardening, all of that. and we can homeschool ourselves and progressively transfer that education back to ourselves, just like it shows naturally in our own lives already. You know, we naturally take on certain aspects that end up educating our children out of our own convenience. Most of the time, these kids that have all these devices at such a young age are given these devices because of the convenience of it distracts them and keeps them busy, so the parent doesn't have to watch them so much. It's a sad way to look at it, but that's how it happens. And so it becomes convenient and they become educated in it before they're even required to become educated in the public education system for it. And therefore, it releases that levy upon the public education system, so they drop the typing courses. They drop the cooking courses. They drop the home ec courses. They drop these courses. And so the more we actually step forward and take responsibility for that stuff and homeschool our kids in that stuff, the more this public education system will free itself from that stuff, and then what will it have? The only thing it'll have is the public education system for the public offices thereof. Thereby it will actually be a true private education system, and the people will educate themselves. So when we learn to connect all these dots, when you're born and you go to the hospital and you realize it's a military institution and you look at it that way and you let them know that as a private man that was born upon this land, they have a medical occupation. And that occupation is done through a commercially constructed political subdivision. And you can learn how to speak to them this way, and the words are the dots. Think about this, people. What do blind people do? If they want to read a document, it has to be translated into their language. Their language is nothing but dots, so they have to spend their whole life connecting dots. Why don't you do it? Why don't you stand up and start learning how to connect the dots and see for yourself that you don't have to sign a goddamn thing. You ask somebody for assistance in a medical situation, for your health and well-being, your joy, your life, happiness, in bringing a new being into the world. I'm going to be one of the first ones. I'm going to step up and I'm going to say, I'll help you any way I can. I may not know how to do it, but it's supposed to come naturally. It's supposed to be instinctual. That's one of those things that are supposed to be ingrained in us inherently that we already know. We already know we're just supposed to let life happen. Why force it? All contracts either are done through agreement, which is given consent, or against your will, enforced, imposed. Imposition. What is the imposition of the case? Well, I don't know. It hasn't been dispositioned yet. I still stand my square, motherfuckers. Point of clarification. Who's been disposed? You want to talk about disposition? Let's talk about the terms and conditions put on the original word, the root word. Posed. What are you posing here? I don't know. You want a straightforward look? Cockeyed shoulder? Maybe you want a profile. Got plenty of those. You call them mugshots. So let's get down to a point of clarification and let's get this shit translated and do so the record shows that the record is accurate. That the record is correct. so that the record is valid. Otherwise, the record is invalid. It is not valid. It is untruthful. It is not correct. Point of clarification. What does this dot mean? Wait a minute. Point of clarification. I've never seen this before. What does dot, dot, dot mean? Well, it depends on where it's at. If it's a dot, dot, dot before a sentence, it's reserving a right literally in the contextual sense that you reserve the right to add something prior to the following statement. If you do it dot, dot, dot after a statement, you're reserving again a right to insert something that you might want to say after this statement. Point of clarification taken. Thank you. I can agree on dot, dot, dot. Let's talk about the next dot. Is that part of an entire symbol? Like on top of this line drawn vertically? Is that all part of the same symbol? I don't know, I'm an idiot. If this might be a different language, it might not be concise English. Can we get this shit translated? Letter for letter, symbol for symbol, dot for dot, word for word. And that's as simple as it gets, people. When you learn how to stand up in your position, how you've posed yourself. Do you pose yourself as that person? Do you know what position you hold? We've got to realize with our real eyes, so we can see what's coming at us as well. We've got to be able to determine this document, is that legalese? I don't comprehend the style. I was just talking to a guy in Messenger. They're having a problem with this a medical situation on a medical bill. Real simple, people. On any one of your bills, look. Anything they call a bill or a billing statement, look on it. Most generally, you will see two styles of what you believe or comprehend or understand or think is the same name. One might possibly be in all caps, while the other one might possibly be in upper and lower case. One might be all caps using the middle name. One might be all caps using no middle name. Check out the styles and ask them questions. Why is it different? And then generally, when you see that stuff, particularly on something like a medical bill, you will see it state, for one, it might say obligor or debtor, whereas the other one, it might say patient or client. Ask them why these styles are different. In concise English, they should be concisely the same. If there's a difference, then there's a difference. Ask why. Point of clarification, who is this person versus this person? Why are they different? Are they two different styles being used on the same document? Or are they two different styles being used on the same instrument? Are you expecting myself to sign on this document stating that I'm somehow liable as one of these people or as one of these persons? What are the differences? Do you expect that when I sign on here, that it be an authorized signature of an authorized representative stating clearly that I'm not liable on the instrument for the person named in the instrument? I mean, let's get real, people. I need some clarification what you believe my position is. Is it this dot, this dot, this dot, this dot? I mean, come on. This dot says I'm a national. This dot says United States citizen. I don't believe any of them. I don't see dots in my eyes. I see the whole goddamn picture. So let's put all these dots together and put in the truth on the record. Let's realize the real eyes with your real eyes and know who you really are. Are you going to follow his way and be blameless? Or are you going to subject yourself to these statutes in the position of a person? Are you going to put yourself in capacity of operating their person? Are you going to put yourself in an independent and private capacity to operate a person that you create yourself? There are a lot of different options, but you have to know what they are. You've got to know a lot of different things if you're going to walk this life, and be able to live in the monetary world. 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 10, for the love of money is the root of all evil. That doesn't say that you have to live a life without money. It means that if you live a life where love is based on money, then you're not living a truthful and honest life. You're not living in prosperity. You're using the commercial system as a way to profit, which is taking advantage of your fellow man. Whereas if you use the commercial system to help your fellow man, then that kind of does a Robin Hood switch on them, and now they realize that the people comprehend this one simple concept. One simple concept is the Federal Reserve notes belong to them. They have used it in a beneficial way for themselves and allowed a beneficial remedy for ourselves to use that in hopes that they can use their system against a majority of the people and still make it a profit for them. However, if enough people learn it and learn how to switch that around so they can't use it as a profit, two things happen. That huge government becomes a dot. And we can step on it and squash it anytime we need and change it. Or it automatically pops and it becomes a change automatically because that's the point we're at. We have to figure out something, and the only way it happens is through a set of cycles and balances. And those cycles and balances sometimes can happen like earthquakes and tornadoes and things like that where they're really sharp. But generally, things like this, things of a matter like this, happen over a period of time. They escalate slowly and de-escalate. That's why it's taken so long. This shit doesn't happen overnight. This shit's been going on since the early 20th century, before we got into the First World War. Late 18th century, or 19th century, 1861. Congress walked out Sendai and never reconvened accordingly. So think about this stuff, people, and realize what your position really is, how to connect the dots, and know that you are the bigger dot. I did a video a while back about who's calling who an asshole or some shit like that. And when it comes to somebody calling me an asshole, I look them dead in the eye and let's get this shit straight. I'm not an asshole. I'm the whole fucking ass. I'm the one that tells you when to fart, motherfucker. You're a public servant. So think about this stuff, people, and realize your position in what these dots really mean. They're just independent transactions that have occurred in a series of transactions that you can easily rebut by putting yourself in the proper position as being that first dot. Listen, you dots wouldn't exist if it wasn't for me. So think about it, and I hope this helps you guys comprehend a little bit more of where to put yourself in regards to these statutory regulations. They're all commercial, and if you're going to cooperate with that commercial system, either learn how to use it accordingly, and then when you figure these little things out, use them accordingly in helping your fellow man, and not commercially to profit from your fellow man. That is just engaging in helping the system remain in its profitary or profiting existence, when it should be full faith and credit, a good even balance. So remember, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. God bless. Have a great night.